Well, Winnipeg's cut that 10-point margin to 3 on this play. John Hufnagel, wow, there's the pump. That's the sign for Jeff Boyd to take off. You throw it as far as you can, and look at where it is. Couldn't throw it any better. Arms extended right in the hands, and when you've got the speed Jeff Boyd does, it's no contest.
Winnipeg kicking off. Crawford and Bird are back. Crawford takes it at the 18-yard line. And he is upended as he hits the 35 by James West. Well, next week, the 1986 schedule comes to a close. On Friday, Ottawa's at Hamilton. On Saturday, Winnipeg visits BC. Then on Sunday, Toronto's at Montreal, Saskatchewan is at Edmonton. And all games could have an impact on the order of finish, both East and West.
That's what you want. Come right down to that last weekend and let it sort itself out. Don't worry about it. Let the teams play it.
Parker takes the handoff for a gain of very close to 6 yards.
Well, they got that crowd back in the game with that touchdown. She's sitting there thinking, now this is just the beginning of a long winter.
She's thinking, I'm not going to be able to play golf tomorrow.
Oh. I'll tell you one thing, you have to be impressed. John Blaine and Gerald Roper opening up holes for Parker. That's 5, almost 6 yards.
Second down. DeWalt looking for Carinci, incomplete. The Lions will be forced to punt. 4:18 is the time remaining in this third quarter.
That had to be a frustrating last series. The Lions looked so good at using the time on the clock and wasted it and moved the ball and got a field goal, and Hufnagel with one play. Touchdown.
You think that lady was sitting there saying, is this fun?
She says, I'm happy I'm here. She says, I wouldn't have missed this for anything. I mean, I don't see anybody going home just looking up in the stands.
No, there's a near-capacity crowd at Winnipeg Stadium, and they would certainly like to see the Winnipeg Blue Bombers wrap up second place with a win here today. For a moment, it looked as though Pasaglia was going to run it. Then he kicked it on the run to Sampson, who has a hole. And he is brought down at the 50-yard line by Tyrone Cruz.
Pasaglia knew they was going to bring it back that far. He would have ran it. They only ended up gaining about 5 yards on the exchange. But when you get into this type of weather and that field is slippery, it doesn't take much. Watch Lou. He takes a look. Now, he says, if they're going to go, I'll run. If they would have been able to stay with the guy coming in on the left side, he could have ran for the first down. Good catch by Sampson. Good blocking by the Bombers.
Do you think he's given the freedom to run if he so decides in those plays?
I think on that, yeah. But I'll tell you what, I wouldn't do it if I was him.
Well, Hufnagel is going to run. He will pick up about 6 yards. Apart from 1 or 2 plays, Winnipeg has relied almost exclusively on the passing game.
Yeah, their biggest running play was that one to Lester Brown right near the end of the half when he broke for about 20 yards. Outside of that, the running game has been non-existent.
Pickup of 6 by Hufnagel. It's 2nd and 4. They'll try to run it with Lester Brown, and that's one of the reasons why they haven't been running the football. It was Rick Klassen who upended Lester Brown, dropped him for a loss back at the 45.
Lyle Bauer pulled to lead Lester Brown. Klassen came in right where he pulled from and got in there and cut the legs out from under him.
Bob Cameron comes in for this third down punt with 2:48 remaining in the third quarter. Cameron and Pasaglia almost identical averages so far this afternoon. He's trying to angle it out of bounds, and he does. Kicking it out at the 19-yard line, make it the 20. He actually wanted a little more distance, but that ball went out at the 20.
Well, I think he got what Cal Murphy wanted. That's out of bounds. Don't let them return it. Kick it away.
It also stops the clock.
James West a little bit slow walking around out there on that punt. He fell down. I didn't see anybody hit him. He seems to be okay now.
23-20, the Lions leading Winnipeg. 1st and 10 for the Lions, back at their own 20-yard line. Parker, the ball carrier, good hole. A gain of 8. He fairly consistently in this third quarter has been picking up 7 or 8 yards on first down.
Another job. We talked about the left side of the line. Now let's watch the big man, Mills, 6'8". Watch the block as he just turns to the outside. Watch him, 6'8". Get the head in, get the body turned. Tony Norman can't do anything about it when a guy that big gets in front of him.
Second down and 2. And they'll get the first down with John Henry White out to the 32-yard line. 1:29 is the time left in this third quarter.
You know, just looking out across the parking lot, I have to agree with what you said earlier. Is this fun? I mean, look at that.
Yes, and I think it's going to be here for a while. The pitch to Parker, good blocking. And this time he has about 6 yards. However, Parker is still down. And although it doesn't appear as though it is serious, he will have to go out for at least one play. He took quite a pounding as he tried to get to the outside.
Yeah, those ever-present linebackers always arrive, and that time that, you know, he made the cut to the inside, but there was Weston Patterson waiting on him.
Well, the Winnipeg Blue Bomber defensive unit this afternoon just has not been able to get to Roy DeWalt.
No, that's for sure. You know, that the story the last 4 or 5 weeks is that teams have been able to get pressure up the middle on Roy DeWalt, but that offensive line today has said no, and they have done a good job protecting the quarterback. There it is. Look at that. Isn't that pretty?
Some people might be having difficulty finding their cars when they head up to the parking lot after this game. A reminder, this program is copyrighted and is strictly for the use of our audience. Any reproduction, retransmission, or exhibition in whole or in part without the written consent of the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation is strictly prohibited. 44 seconds remaining in the third quarter. Second down play. Paul Nastasiuk into the ball game in place of Parker. DeWalt is dropped by Tony Norman.
That was a big, big play for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers because they prevent the first down, and BC will have to punt against the wind. If they make that first down, they'd have had the wind at their back going home. DeWalt wants to throw that quick out again to Pankratz, and he's covered. Now he's looking around for anybody and can't escape number 55.
Third down punt by Lou Pasaglia. Bounces in front of Jefferson at the 50-yard line. And he's forced out of bounds by Darryl Slater. And that is the final play of the third quarter. So after 45 minutes at Winnipeg Stadium, the British Columbia Lions are clinging to a 3-point lead. They are ahead of the Blue Bombers 23-20. 15 minutes remain here at Winnipeg Stadium. A big 15 minutes, Ron Lancaster, for both teams.
Yeah, I think BC, you know, Winnipeg needs to move the ball now. BC wants to stop them because they've got the wind at their back, and that's a plus in the fourth quarter.
Statistically, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers improved in that third quarter, mainly on the strength of one big play. And that was a 75-yard touchdown throw from John Hufnagel to Jeff Boyd. The two would like to hook up again. The pass goes inside to Poplawski. He'll have a gain of 9. The Bombers, for this fourth quarter, will be operating against that wind, although it does appear to be shifting a little.
Well, I don't know how in this stadium, Don, I have never figured out where the wind comes from. I just know it's always present someplace.
It swirls and seems to come at you from a variety of directions. Second down play. Kantner goes over the top for the first down. He got to the 45. Sean Kehoe goes back into the ball game with instructions from Coach Cal Murphy as Pat Kantner comes out along with Randy Faby.
Kentner's working on his rushing average. He had 2.9 coming in, and he got another 2 yards. He's hanging in there. He never gets them. He gets them when it's tough. He likes going over the top.
First and 10, Winnipeg. The ball is at the 45-yard line. Murphy's open down at the 30-yard line. Murphy looking for a block. To the 15. Keith Dukes was desperately trying to knock that ball out of the hands of James Murphy as he was trying to bring down the Winnipeg receiver.
Well, that was a heck of a throw. So you talk about defensive recognition. There's the hole. Murphy curls to the inside, makes the catch. And as you say, watch Dukes right hard. Now he's going to try to just rip that ball out with his right hand. Murphy held on, got him down to the 15-yard line.
The sixth catch of the day, or fifth, I should say, of the day for James Murphy. Kantner into the ball game. Kehoe out. Into the end zone. Poplawski can't catch up with it.
As soon as Huffnagel let it go, he knew it was too far. When you see a quarterback throw it and start hopping up and down, you know he's hoping that he can get there.
Sean Kehoe back into the game. Second and 10, Winnipeg from the 16-yard line. 12:42 left to play. Poplawski makes the catch with the penalty flag at the line of scrimmage. Poplawski appeared to be stopped about a yard short of the first down. I believe the penalty is holding against Winnipeg.
You know, you look out on the field, this is when bench strength becomes so important. You see John Ulmer in the football game, Bernie Glear in the football game. This has been a pretty physical game.
Holding Winnipeg 62. Second down repeated.
Richard Nemeth guilty of the holding call, the second time that he has been fingered by the officials today.
Doesn't surprise you, though, when you see who he's blocking. He's got James Parker and just pulls him and throws him down.
Huffnagel for Poplawski. He makes the... No, he doesn't. They rule that he didn't make the catch. He had it, but the ball was knocked away with the tackle.
Well, they dropped into that zone defense where they put all the people back. Poplawski almost made the catch, but that's what they're back there for. If he catches it, you hit him, pop it loose.
Well, Trevor Kennard will be attempting a 33-yard field goal. 12:02 is the time left to play. If he's successful, these two teams will be tied. It's wide. And in the end zone, Mel Bird will concede the single point. So with 11:43 left to play, it's a 2-point spread. BC leading Winnipeg.
Williams reminding you to stay with CBC Sports for all the excitement of Grey Cup 86. Saturday, November 29th, we'll have the parade live from Vancouver. I'll be in Vancouver as we anchor Sports Weekend live from under the dome. Then, of course, Sunday afternoon, November 30th, it is Grey Cup 86. We will have a special 90-minute pregame show followed by the game itself. As usual, for the best in sports, the best in Canadian football, CBC Sports is the place to be.
For all Grey Cup Festival events, tickets are going on sale tomorrow, Monday, November the 3rd. For more information, call area code 604-684-4739 or visit the Grey Cup Festival office at the Bayshore Inn in Vancouver. First and 10 for the Lions. The ball is at the 25-yard line. And Apparently, there was no point on that field goal attempt. There was a penalty at the line of scrimmage. I'm not quite sure what the call was. However, the score holds at 23-20. I'm still a little uncertain as to what the ruling was there, but there was no point apparently.
Well, we'll get an explanation in a minute. I'd like to know myself.
2nd and 10. DeWalt looking on the sidelines for Pankratz, incomplete. Well, we get word that the reason there was no point, the ball apparently brushed the upright. And as a result, it was declared automatically a dead ball. Well, that explains it.
I'm glad to hear that. I didn't know what happened.
Usually when a ball hits the upright, it doesn't carry on into the end zone the way that one did. So the BC Lions are forced into a punting situation on 3rd down. Sampson fields the ball, has trouble staying on his feet, and then is knocked off his feet at the 48-yard line. A 37-yard kick by Lou Pasaglia. 10:40 is the time left to play.
Well, the Bombers have managed to maintain that good field position to start.
Well, let's see if we can take a look at it. The word we get is that the kick brushed the upright. Well, that kick certainly appeared to miss the upright. Perry Tuttle inside, a 9-yard gain. I think this is what John Huffnagel will have to do more of, try and nickel and dime the BC Lions, read defenses and take what is there.
Well, it's an excellent idea, because on footing that there is right now, it's a little treacherous, and those linebackers just can't react. That ball's just dumped right over the middle. All he does is he just real quick catch the ball. Watch this linebacker slip as he tries to come over. So Huffnagel stands up, dumps the ball. Now you run. See, they both have trouble getting their footing to get back and hit him, so he picks up almost 10 yards, and that's why the delay they're going to measure for it.
And of course, the snow is now obliterating the yardage lines here at Winnipeg Stadium. But that footing, as you said, has become very treacherous, and the receivers certainly have an advantage right now because they know where they're going.
That's exactly right. There's poor defensive backs now. When that receiver comes down, he knows he's going to stop at 10. That defensive back doesn't. So the advantage goes to the offensive man.
And I know as a quarterback, you always felt sorry for those linebackers and defensive backs.
Well, I sure did.
Not said with a great deal of conviction, Mr. Lancaster. Inside the 50-yard line for a first down. .950 is the time remaining. Well, the word we got on that missed field goal attempt by Trevor Kennard was that it was declared a dead ball because it hit the upright. Well, as we saw in the replay, it didn't appear to be close to the upright.
Have to be awful wide upright to hit it there.
1st and 10 Winnipeg. The ball is at the 50-yard line. It's intercepted, picked off by Larry Crawford. He might go the distance. Run out of bounds by John Huffnagel. The 3rd time this afternoon that Huffnagel has been intercepted. Larry Crawford, the BC Lions' all-time career leader in interceptions, took that throw intended for James Murphy.
Well, look at the number of white jerseys in the picture when the ball is thrown. He throws it a little bit too far out in front. Tyrone Cruz was coming the other way, and Crawford makes a good return. I really didn't think Huffnagel was going to catch him, but he managed to get to him and knock him out of bounds. But they sacrificed a lot of field position.
9:10 is the time left to play. Larry Crawford with the Lions' 3rd interception of the game, and it was interceptions that provided the spark for the Lions in their victory last week against the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Anthony Parker fights his way down to the 20-yard line. He's strong, 6 feet, 210 pounds, and he's been difficult to bring down.
I haven't seen the BC Lions rush the ball the way they have today in a long time, so that offensive line has been getting a lot of criticisms doing a real good job today.
Gerald Roper is the injured player. He was hurt early in the ball game. Of course, Roper, as we mentioned, has been out of the BC lineup for a few games because of injuries. Will hobble off to the bench, but I think we'll probably see him back in the lineup.
Yeah, you start out the ball game with an injury, and the first time he went out, he walked off okay. Now he's limping pretty good, and this field's hard. A lot of weight on that leg, a lot of hits he's taken today. It's questionable now whether he'll come back. We'll have to wait and see.
Well, Parker has been primarily responsible for that BC ground game, and he has run for 67 yards. John Henry White gets the call. He'll be close to a first down.
That was just strength by Darrell Patterson. He met John Henry White right in the hole and stood him straight up. So it's going to be close. He's going to have to measure.
.809 is the time left to play. Well, I imagine there will be quite a run at the box office out at the stadium at BC Place in Vancouver if the Lions win this ball game, because next week's game will then determine second place and home field advantage for the semifinal.
I would think they would have about 60,000 people in there next week.
Third and inches for the BC Lions, and you know that they are going to gamble. DeWalt will keep, and he will easily get that first down. Don Matthews knew the task facing his team. They had to win 2. A loss, and they would be back in 4th place. Prospects certainly didn't look particularly good for the Lions coming into Winnipeg Stadium, facing the hottest team in the CFL. A team that had been unbeaten so far this season at home, but the Lions may be putting an end to that string as they have a first down at the Winnipeg 16-yard line. Parker again. He runs hard every time. Takes usually about 3 or 4 to halt his progress.
I'll tell you, he ran right over Darrell Patterson, and that's no easy task. We saw Patterson the play before make the hit on John Henry White, but this time when Parker went in there, it was Patterson and Sampson took the hit.
Lou Pasaglia getting set if he should be called upon for a field goal attempt. 2nd and 5. DeWalt intended for Pancratz, incomplete. So it will be a field goal try with 6:31 remaining, or at least they will line up in field goal formation.
I think they'll kick it.
Leading by 3. If Pasaglia is successful, it would, of course, force Winnipeg to score a touchdown to win it. And it is good. So with 6:13 left, the BC Lions lead it by 6. Well, the snow continues to fall at Winnipeg Stadium as the Blue Bombers trail by 6. The sideline pass to James Murphy. He had the feet taken out from under him by Andre Francis. And now James Murphy is one catch away from equaling Terry Greer's 1983 record of 113 receptions. But will this be the year of the asterisk in the CFL?
Well, it just might be. You never know. You hate to say it. Just go ahead and let them have them. They're going to play 18 games from now on. It doesn't matter.
The reason for the asterisk, the fact that Greer played 16 games. This is the 17th of the season for James Murphy.
Under the post.
No chance for Hufnagel to throw. Gray came up the middle and simply ran right over the Winnipeg quarterback.
Boy, he had the right play called and everything. I mean, he had Murphy one-on-one to the post, but look at the penetration. Here they come. Michael Gray, 77, and Nelson Martin, number 4, puts Hufnagel on his back, and now they've got to turn it over. But he had the right play call. Murphy had the one-on-one coverage that you want going to the post, but he never had a chance to throw.
Larry Crawford is back for this third down kick by Bob Cameron. And wisely, the Winnipeg players that had encroached upon that 5-yard area moved out of the play, and Crawford simply downed the ball at the 40. We'll be back after this. Well, the BC Lions are 4:46 away from moving a step closer to a second-place finish. And as we mentioned earlier, if the BC Lions finish second, Winnipeg can't finish worse than third, regardless of what happens in these two games. They would play 3 consecutive games.
Boy, that's tough. By that third game, it'll be a war out there. I mean, they'll hate one another by then.
This time, Parker spins off the initial contact and manages to pick up about 6 or 7 yards. It appeared as though he was stopped right at the line of scrimmage. He's getting good yardage each time on first down.
He was very fortunate here. A good play by Parker because he bounced off. But the key right here, Tyrone Jones gets some penetration, and that causes him to bounce. Tyrone Jones gets in there. You see John Henry White try to block him. Tyrone Jones just stands him straight up, and then he bounces off and escapes and gets good yardage. 8 yards to be exact.
Second down. Parker trying to get first down yardage. He's stopped this time by Tony Norman.
Norman got the penetration that time, and Parker wasn't able to cut. You saw it. He tried to come back. He slipped. Nowhere to go then. So the Bombers get a break. They don't get the first down, and they have a chance now. 3:44. Time's running out.
Again, in case you're not familiar with the playoff structure in the CFL this year, in the West, 4 teams will make it. The exact order of finish has not been determined, but a Winnipeg loss this afternoon would assure Edmonton of a first-place finish. Calgary can finish 3rd or 4th. That's the prospect awaiting them, depending on the outcome of these 2 games between Winnipeg and BC. Sampson on the return, stopped by Scott Leckie on the far side of the field at about the 17-yard line. Now, if Winnipeg wins one of these 2 games against BC, Winnipeg will be second, BC 4th. If BC wins both games, BC will finish second, Winnipeg will be 3rd, and then it will be Calgary 4th. They'll face Edmonton. Winnipeg and BC will go at it on the 16th of November. I think by then they might be familiar with each other's style of play.
Boy, I'll say, that's tough. That is really tough.
In the East, it will be a 2-game total point affair between Toronto and Hamilton. Hufnagel sacked by Mike Gray. Hufnagel was looking deep for Boyd, but Mike Gray got through to bring him down. So the Bombers are in trouble again with time running up. Well, the final game of regular season play will be at the Olympic Stadium in Montreal when the Alouettes take on the Toronto Argonauts, and that game could be vitally important to the Argos in their quest to finish first in the Eastern Division.
Yeah, a lot of people think that a 2-game total point series is a big deal. I know this much. I want the second game at home, so I would say it's important. You want that last game in your park.
Winnipeg, second down. Here's Parker after Hofnagel. He managed to dump it off to Lester Brown, but Lester Brown is having some problems trying to get outside, and he is going to be stopped at the 7-yard line. 2:33 is the time remaining. It appeared as though James Parker was going to drop John Hofnagel, perhaps for a safety touch.
Watch the trickery.
Well, it sure looked like it from up here. He came free again. Nobody touched him, and he had a straight shot at John Hofnagel. Hofnagel was very fortunate just to get the ball to Lester Brown, but they're going to be punting out of the end zone, and with 2:33, they got some problems.
Bernie Glier is the injured player. He replaced Kevin Konar early in the football game, and it appears as though he has hurt his hand. He probably did that in trying to bring down Lester Brown.
Well, you see him in there. That's pretty heads-up play by both Hofnagel and Brown. I really have a feeling that there was a missed assignment up front, and when he came free, Hofnagel just a little bit of ad-lib and escaped the safety touch.
Hofnagel almost threw that off in desperation. But Brown was there, and you saw Walter Ballard, who had penetrated, trying to put on the brakes and stop on that slippery field and get back at Lester Brown, the ball carrier. Well, it's a punting situation for Winnipeg, but will they kick it?
Yeah, I think they have to kick it. 2:33. I don't think you can afford to give them the ball here. A field goal puts it out of reach. I think you have to punt it, hope that your defense can get a turnover for you, because 3 points would end it. You know, I just don't think they can afford not to kick it. Yeah, I think you have to be impressed with the play of the Lions today. You know, they've been criticized an awful lot the last month or so, and they have played a very, very strong football game in a stadium that hasn't been kind to visiting clubs.
Well, it was Winnipeg's final game a year ago when they went down to defeat against the Edmonton Eskimos. This is their final home game of 1986. Bob Cameron with a pretty good kick out of that end zone, taken by Crawford out at the 45-yard line. And Crawford is downed as he worked his way to Winnipeg's 38-yard line. It's getting more and more difficult to determine where those yardage stripes are with the snow now covering the field.
Not bad stats for a guy that they said has been having problems. 314 yards through the air. Moved the ball very well today, this offensive unit.
Well, the BC Lions have had problems in their last 5 games. 250 yards total offense was their best production. Parker puts his head down and rams his way inside the 35-yard line. He has to be closing in on 100 yards rushing for this game. Second and 6. 2:04 is the time left to play. 26-20 the score. The Lions in front. Sandusky makes the catch. He's wrapped up immediately by Jefferson, but he should have a first down. Roy Bennett is already out of the ball game for Winnipeg, and now the other cornerback, James Jefferson, appears to be hurt. Well, he's going to get up and stay in there.
That's a big catch. You know, sometimes, you know, you talk about big plays. Well, that's a big play. And what was it? A 7-yard stop. Just go down, stop, throw it to him, and catch it. But they made the first down, and they're down inside 2 minutes. So that's a big, big catch by Sandusky.
1:43 is the time left to play. First and 10 for the Lions. Parker again. This time he picks up maybe a yard, not much more. We've talked about the lack of offense by the BC Lions. Against the Edmonton Eskimos, they had 220 yards in that loss the first time they met, then 143 yards, then 173 against Montreal, 250 against Hamilton, and only 240 against Saskatchewan.
Well, I can see why they've been struggling. That doesn't even average out to about 200 yards a game. And today they've played well.
They've corrected that problem, obviously. Murph Fernandez takes that hit screen from DeWalt and converts it into a first down. He was tackled over there by Benny Thompson. But he'll provide the Lions with another first down, and more importantly, give them time to run another series of plays and take that clock down even more.
That was the key. Thompson allowed him to get outside of him, and Fernandez has the ability to get those 3 steps, and he's in full swing.
First and 10 with 58 seconds remaining. DeWalt is going to run this himself, and he is inside the 10-yard line.
That surprised me. I think he did that. I don't think that was a mistake or anything. He just faked the ball to Parker and turned and took off with it. If I was Don Matthews, I might send a message in, don't do it again. You know, I mean, he's their experienced quarterback, and they can't afford to get him injured.
Parker is going to get to about the 3-yard line, and that will be another first down with 35 seconds left, and that should do it. The BC Lions now with first and goal from the 3 should have little difficulty in putting away the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and really setting the stage. A gigantic battle coming up next Saturday under the dome at BC Place, with second place and home field advantage in the semifinal hinging on the outcome. First and goal from the 3-yard line. Parker stopped at about the 2 and then thrown back. But each time he carries that football, it takes 3 or 4 to bring him down.
You know, every year you hear the talk throughout the league that when the weather gets bad, Cal Murphy wants a timeout. I think he got it. Patterson got Patterson's attention. But every year, as I started to say, you hear him talk about that when the weather turns cold in the West, the running game becomes important. And I think we've seen a little bit of that today. Parker has added a dimension to the BC offense that they sorely need. And, you know, with the possibilities of having to play a couple games on the prairies in the next couple weeks, that running game could be important.
Well, the BC Lions would like to remain at home under the dome for the next couple of weeks, and that's now a distinct possibility because they will have the Winnipeg Blue Bombers visit their field next Saturday for the final game of the season, and if they win it, they will have that home field advantage for the semifinal game.
Well, all teams like to play that big game in their own backyard, and I know if you were Winnipeg, you want BC here on this field. In a couple more weeks, it's going to be a little bit colder. But
yeah, I don't think this snow is going to disappear in the next few weeks.
No, I tell you what, I have been impressed with the Lions today as far as the way they've performed under some pretty tough conditions that they haven't seen in a long time.
It will be second and goal from the 2-yard line. And DeWalt is simply going to drop to one knee. Winnipeg does not have a timeout left, so for the BC Lions, they now can run off the remaining 20 seconds, or 17 seconds. Not a bad call by the BC Lions, because now the clock starts. They didn't have to get it in the end zone and risk a fumble.
That's right. We saw that yesterday, didn't we, with Matt Dunnigan trying to get one in when it would have been better had he not. Like, they don't need points because they won the first game. This gives them the series over the Bombers, so the only thing they have to do is walk away with one more point, and they're going to do it.
That's what they do, is they defeat the Winnipeg Blue Bombers 26-20. And now it's a second place showdown next Saturday at the stadium at BC Place. Winnipeg and the Lions to determine home field advantage for the semifinal. And the Winnipeg loss clinches first place for the Edmonton Eskimos, who were held to that 16-16 tie yesterday by Ottawa. The Calgary Stampeders still uncertain as to who they will face in the semifinal. They could finish third or fourth, depending on what happens next Saturday between Winnipeg and BC. So it is going right down to the final weekend for second place in the West, and we're going to go right to the final game of the year, Ron Lancaster, for first place in the East.
The only thing for sure with the playoffs right now, Calgary doesn't have to play next week. That's the only thing right now. I don't, you know, an 18-game schedule, and we know one thing: Calgary will rest and see what happens, and the rest are going to have to fight for their own position.
The Calgary Stampeders, with their schedule now finished, enjoying a bye next week, and I'm sure we'll have a great deal of interest in the outcome of this Winnipeg BC rematch to determine which team they will face in the semifinals.
And the big thing they're thinking about right now is beat each other up. You know, getting beat up so they can soften them up for us.
Well, Don Matthews has joined us now down on the sidelines. And, Coach, a very impressive win by your team, a team that hadn't put together a great offensive display in the past few games.
Boy, you're exactly right. It was a great effort by our football team, especially when we lost a couple of our linebackers on defense. You know, Kevin Konar hurt his knee and may be done for the season. And then Glenn Jackson's back was hurting him, couldn't play in the second half. But all in all, boy, it was a great effort, and the Blue Bombers are a tough football team.
Don, I saw a little bit of a running game out there today, and I commented that that's the best I'd seen that offensive line shove people around in a long time.
Well, you know, Ronnie, when the footing is a little bit slippery, those defensive linemen sometimes have a hard time digging in, and so do the linebackers. And I think that we were lucky. We got a big, strong running back in Tony Parker, and it's his type of field, and if you can't dig your cleats in, he's tough to stop.
Don, I thought your team showed a lot of character, losing or falling behind 7-0 on the third play of the ball game following that interception by Benny Thompson. But you did something I'm sure that you were pleased with. You controlled the ball and marching it down the field.
Yeah, that's another thing. We're fortunate. We controlled the ball in the first quarter when we were against the wind, and that ate up an awful lot of the clock, although we didn't get a lot of points. And then we held on in the second half and had the wind in the fourth quarter again. And certainly when you get into a close game and the field conditions and that punting situation, having the win in the fourth quarter is a big advantage.
Well, if you two do meet 3 times in a row, I think you'll be familiar with each other's schemes, won't you?
Boy, I hope, you know, I don't know how this is going to turn out, but boy, when you play the Winnipeg Blue Bombers twice in a row, that's enough for me.
Don Matthews, thanks very much. Congratulations on your 26-20 victory. And we'll return to Winnipeg Stadium and our Carling O'Keefe Game Stars after we pause for this message. Selections this afternoon, 9 and 4. Roy DeWalt, the quarterback, the safety, Nelson Martin. Let's talk to Roy DeWalt first of all. Roy, I chatted with you down at on the field just before game time. We were talking about the slippery turf and how cold it was. And I detected an air of confidence. You felt good coming into this game.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank God for the victory and for the strength. And Don, you're absolutely right. I felt extremely good about the way things were going, the way practice went all week. Came out here early to get somewhat adjusted to the field, to get my footing, to see what shoes would work best. And after getting all that done, I just came out here, started throwing the ball, and I felt very good, and the team felt good. And we just came out here and we did the job that we knew we needed to do.
Well, Roy, your passing statistics in this ball game easily surpassed the team's total offense in the last 5. What did you do differently?
Well, I think what we did differently is just, you know, we have been talking about it all week, and we just said, hey, we just got to go out and play an extremely good ball game. It's going to be cold. We can't worry about that. They got one of the best defenses in the league. We can't worry about that. We just go out there and play football, take what they give us, not force the football. And if we don't turn it over, then we got a real good chance of winning the ball game. Unfortunately, the first pass I threw, it was intercepted, and I knew right then that we had to turn it around. I even felt good about that.
Roy, a lot of people say that when the Lions are getting ready to play a football game, if the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are mentioned, that the Lions come to the top in a hurry. Do you get that feeling?
Well, you know, you like playing the Blue Bombers because they are an extremely talented football team. They fly around and do a lot of good things. And you like to play the best because, you know, I think it brings out the best in you. And we just came out here and had some fun. We had been talking about having fun all week. We got over here, talked about having fun, and we just came out here and it was fun. It felt good to play and complete passes and watch the guys use their abilities, and we did that and it worked for us.
Roy DeWalt, congratulations on being selected our Carling O'Keefe Offensive Game Star. Let's switch over now to the man who was selected as the Defensive Game Star, Nelson Martin. Nelson, Roy talked about an interception he threw early. It was your interception that seemed to get the Lions back in the ballgame. Tell us about it.
Well, we went into the game and we mixed things up a little bit more. The past few games we've been playing extremely a lot of man coverage. This time we went into a little bit of zone, and I think it may have fooled Huffnagel a bit. He threw the ball and Boyd tipped it. I happened to be in the right place at the right time, and I grabbed the ball and ran about 5 yards. But it was the fact that we mixed up our defensive game plan, I think, that confused Huffnagel a little bit.
Well, on a cold and snowy afternoon, Nelson, I know that you're anxious to get into the warmth of the dressing room along with Roy DeWalt. Congratulations on your victory and selection as our Carling O'Keefe Game Star.
Thank you very much.
A big game coming up now next Saturday under the Dome in Vancouver, with second place on the line in the rematch between Winnipeg and BC. From a snowy Winnipeg Stadium, let's again go to CFL Control and Brian Williams.
All right, thank you, Don. Folks, you can tell Lancaster's tough when he played in the prairies. He doesn't even wear an overcoat. The BC Lions with a big win this afternoon in the snow over the Blue Bombers in Winnipeg. And, of course, Winnipeg losing. As we look at the Western standings, that means the Edmonton Eskimos have wrapped up first place. Congratulations to Huey Campbell, Jackie Parker and company. BC and Winnipeg still fighting it out for second and third. Calgary will play in the playoffs. It'll be first against fourth and second against third. One other game this afternoon here in Toronto. Winning touchdown. The Argonauts getting 2 touchdowns in the final minute of play. J.C. Watts to Paul Pearson out of UBC for the winner. The Argonauts coming from behind to defeat the Montreal Alouettes, and that means Toronto moves back into first place in the Eastern Conference. Toronto and Hamilton will meet in a 2-game total point Eastern playoff series. I mentioned Edmonton wrapping up first place. They moved into sole possession of first for the final time Saturday, October the 4th, when they won in Hamilton by a score of 24-23. Sports Weekend next Saturday. We'll see you. The Lions, perhaps their biggest victory of the season. And we'll talk to you again next Sunday afternoon at 1:30 Eastern. All and other happenings in the National Hockey last night. It was Hamilton moving back into first place by 1 point over the Toronto Argonauts, and I'll have highlights from that game coming up later on in today's show. The Western Ontario Mustangs are all over the Guelph Griffins by a score of 41-13. That is in the third quarter, and also in the third quarter in Ottawa, the Bishops Gators are leading the Carleton Ravens by a score of 28-3. There was one game in the Canadian Football League last night, the start of the final weekend of regular season play for 1986. The second place Hamilton Ticats entertaining fourth place Ottawa at Ivor Wynne Stadium. A very important matchup for the Cats and their first place hopes in the Eastern Conference. The Rough Riders wrapping up a bad season play Hamilton tough. Jimmy Reed high-stepping his way for a 23-yard touchdown. Ottawa led 7-0, 2:05 into the game. Trailing 13-3, Cats get going. Tony Champion on the painful receiving end of this 30-yard completion from Mike Kerrigan. Champion continued in the game and would catch 5 passes. On the next play, Ken Zachary, the draw, goes in from 8 yards out. Hamilton trailed by 3 at the half, but they were still behind in the game's final minute. Paul Osbaldiston with a field goal attempt from 36 yards out, and it would be good for a 1-point Hamilton victory. The Ticats finished the regular season above 500, defeating the Ottawa Rough Riders by a score of 20-19. So we take a look at the Eastern standings. Hamilton with 19 points, 1 more than Toronto. The Argonauts will clinch first place with a tie or win tomorrow in Montreal. They will meet Hamilton in a 2-game home-and-home playoff series. The divisional winner will have the choice of which game they wish for home field advantage. In the West, the battle for second place goes tonight out at BC Place in Vancouver. A victory for the Lions would give them second over Winnipeg and would set up a rematch in the Western semifinal next Saturday. Same teams again in Vancouver. Now, a Winnipeg win or tie tonight would give the Blue Bombers second place. That means they would host Calgary. BC would fall to fourth and have to travel to Edmonton next Sunday in the other Western semifinal. We take a look at the games this weekend. Tonight, the big one, again, it's in Vancouver. Winnipeg and BC in the battle for second place. 2 games tomorrow afternoon. Toronto at Montreal. You'll see that 1:30 Eastern live here in CBC. And the other game at Commonwealth Stadium in Edmonton. The Eskimos, of course, have already wrapped up first place, and the Riders have been eliminated.